He seemed like an ordinary man, blending seamlessly into the fabric of suburban life. His neighbors would often see him mowing his lawn, chatting with friends, and participating in community events. To the casual observer, he was the epitome of the American dream. John Wayne Gacy, a hardworking contractor, was known for his jovial personality and love for entertaining children as Pogo the Clown. He would often volunteer at local parties and events, bringing smiles to the faces of countless children. His cheerful demeanor and willingness to help made him a beloved figure in the community. But beneath the surface of normalcy lurked a monster. Gacy's friendly exterior masked a darkness that few could have imagined. His charm and charisma were tools he used to hide his true nature, a nature that was far more sinister and malevolent than anyone could have suspected. Gacy was a predator hiding in plain sight, a man who used his charm to lure young boys to their deaths. He would often offer them jobs or invite them to his home under the guise of friendship and mentorship. Once they were in his grasp, he would reveal his true, horrifying intentions. He became one of America's most notorious serial killers, leaving behind a legacy of horror that continues to chill the nation to its core. The discovery of his crimes sent shockwaves through the community and the entire country, as the true extent of his atrocities came to light. Gacy's crimes shocked the world. The sheer number of victims and the brutality of his actions were almost beyond comprehension. People struggled to understand how someone who seemed so normal, so trustworthy, could commit such heinous acts. How could someone who brought joy to children be capable of such unspeakable acts? The contrast between Gacy's public persona and his private actions was stark and deeply unsettling. It forced people to question their assumptions about those around them and to reconsider the nature of evil. The answer, as investigators would soon discover, lay buried deep within Gacy's psyche, a twisted labyrinth of repressed desires and simmering rage. His outward appearance was a carefully constructed facade designed to conceal the darkness within. The investigation into his life and crimes revealed a man who was deeply disturbed, driven by impulses that he could not control. His story serves as a stark reminder that evil often wears a friendly face, and the most dangerous predators are often those who blend seamlessly into society. Gacy's ability to hide in plain sight, to appear as just another friendly neighbor, made him all the more dangerous. The name John Wayne Gacy became synonymous with betrayal and terror. His arrest and subsequent trial were widely covered by the media, and his name became a byword for the worst kind of evil. The public's fascination with his case was fueled by a morbid curiosity about how such a seemingly normal man could commit such horrific acts. His case exposed the dark underbelly of suburban America, shattering the illusion of safety and revealing the monsters that could lurk behind even the most ordinary facades. The idea that such evil could exist in the heart of a seemingly idyllic community was a wake-up call for many. Gacy's story is not for the faint of heart, but it is a chilling reminder of the importance of vigilance and the enduring power of evil. It serves as a cautionary tale, urging us to look beyond appearances and to remain ever watchful for the darkness that may lie beneath the surface. John Wayne Gacy's path to becoming a monster was paved with hardship and abuse. Born in Chicago in 1942, Gacy's childhood was far from idyllic. He endured a difficult relationship with his father, an alcoholic who constantly belittled and physically abused him. His father's rejection left deep scars on young John, instilling in him a profound sense of inadequacy and a desperate need for approval. Gacy's troubled relationship with his father was compounded by his struggles with his own identity. He grappled with his sexuality, harboring same-sex attractions that he felt compelled to suppress in the conservative environment of the 1950s. This internal conflict, combined with his father's abuse, created a volatile mix of shame, anger, and resentment that would fester within him. As Gacy grew older, his troubles only intensified. He dropped out of school, drifted between jobs, and found himself increasingly isolated from his peers. He sought solace in fleeting relationships and risky behaviors, seeking validation and control that always seemed to elude him. With each passing failure, the darkness within him grew, twisting his perception of the world and distorting his desires into something sinister. John Wayne Gacy's descent into depravity began with a series of increasingly disturbing incidents. Born in 1942, Gacy's early life was marked by a troubled relationship with his father, who was an abusive alcoholic. This tumultuous upbringing planted the seeds of darkness that would later flourish in horrifying ways. In 1968, while living in Iowa and married to his first wife, Gacy committed his first known sexual assault. This was a shocking betrayal of the trust placed in him by his family and community. Gacy's outward appearance of a devoted husband and father masked the sinister intentions that lurked beneath. He lured a teenage boy to his home and forced himself upon him, an act that would mark a terrifying turning point in his life. This heinous crime was not an isolated incident, but the beginning of a pattern of predatory behavior that would escalate over the years. The incident resulted in Gacy's arrest and conviction, landing him in prison for sodomy. This conviction was a pivotal moment, as it exposed Gacy's true nature to the world. However, the justice system's response would prove to be tragically insufficient. Prison, however, did little to rehabilitate Gacy. Instead of reflecting on his crimes and seeking redemption, Gacy used his time behind bars to hone his skills in manipulation and deceit. He learned how to present himself as a model prisoner, a facade that would later aid in his early release. Instead, it provided him with a crash course in manipulation and control. Gacy's charm and cunning allowed him to navigate the prison system with ease, gaining the trust of guards and fellow inmates alike. This ability to manipulate those around him would become a key component of his future crimes. He became a model prisoner, charming his way into the good graces of prison officials and earning an early release after serving only 18 months of his 10-year sentence. This early release was a grave mistake, as it allowed Gacy to return to society and continue his predatory behavior. Upon his release, Gacy returned to Chicago, determined to rebuild his life and bury his dark past. He quickly established himself as a successful contractor, gaining the trust and respect of his community. But beneath this veneer of normalcy, the darkness within him continued to fester. However, the monster within Gacy had only been subdued, not extinguished. His return to society marked the beginning of a new chapter in his life, one that would be characterized by even more heinous acts of violence and depravity. He remarried and projected an image of normalcy, becoming a successful contractor and active member of his community. Gacy's ability to blend in and appear trustworthy allowed him to continue his predatory behavior undetected for years. But beneath this carefully constructed facade, Gacy's dark urges were resurfacing, more powerful and insidious than before. His desire to dominate and control others grew stronger, driving him to commit increasingly brutal acts. He had tasted evil, and it had awakened a hunger within him that would not be denied. Gacy's descent into depravity was far from over, and the horrors he would unleash in the years to come would shock the world and leave an indelible mark on history. By the early 1970s, John Wayne Gacy's life had become a terrifying double act. He was a man who wore many masks, both literally and figuratively. To the outside world, he was a successful businessman, a devoted community member, and a loving father. But beneath this veneer of normalcy lay a dark and twisted reality that few could have imagined. He was, on the one hand, a seemingly upstanding citizen, involved in local politics and even performing as Pogo the Clown at children's parties. His clown persona, Pogo, was beloved by many, bringing joy and laughter to countless children. Gacy used this guise to gain the trust of his community, masking the sinister intentions that lurked beneath the surface. On the other hand, he was living a nightmare, driven by his dark compulsions to prey on vulnerable young men. His charm and charisma were tools he used to manipulate and deceive, luring his unsuspecting victims into his web of horror. Gacy's duality was a chilling reminder of how appearances can be deceiving. Gacy's victims, mostly teenage boys and young men, were often lured to his home with promises of work, money, or parties. He preyed on their vulnerabilities, offering them a sense of security and opportunity before revealing his true, monstrous nature. These young men, full of hope and dreams, had no idea of the fate that awaited them. Inside Gacy's house of horrors, a gruesome reality unfolded. The seemingly ordinary suburban home hid a dark secret, with its basement becoming a chamber of unimaginable terror. The walls of this house bore silent witness to the atrocities committed within, each corner echoing with the cries of the innocent. He would overpower his victims, often after plying them with alcohol or drugs, and subject them to unimaginable torture. Gacy's methods were as varied as they were brutal, each act of violence a testament to his depravity. His ability to inflict such pain and suffering without remorse was a chilling reminder of the darkness that can reside within the human soul. Gacy's methods were brutal and calculated, a chilling testament to his depravity. He took pleasure in the suffering of his victims, each act of violence meticulously planned and executed. His ability to compartmentalize his life, to separate the monster from the man, was as astounding as it was terrifying. He would bind, rape, and torture his victims before finally ending their lives, often by strangulation. The sheer brutality of his actions left a lasting scar on the community, a grim reminder of the evil that can lurk behind a friendly face. Each life he took was a tragic story cut short, a future stolen by his monstrous actions. To conceal his heinous crimes, Gacy buried the bodies of his victims in the crawl space beneath his house. This hidden graveyard became a silent testament to his atrocities, each body a grim reminder of the lives he had destroyed. The crawl space, once an ordinary part of the home, was transformed into a macabre monument to his evil deeds. As the body count mounted, the crawl space became a macabre graveyard, a testament to the monstrous secret Gacy concealed beneath his normal facade. The sheer number of victims buried there was a horrifying indication of the extent of his crimes. Each grave told a story of a life brutally cut short, a future stolen by his monstrous actions. His ability to compartmentalize his life, to separate the monster from the man, was as astounding as it was terrifying. Gacy's duality was a chilling reminder of how appearances can be deceiving. The friendly neighbor, the beloved clown, and the ruthless killer were all facets of the same man. A man whose reign of terror left an indelible mark on history.